stop everything you are doing right now, because what just happened in Toronto is one of the most satisfying, emotional, and genuinely shocking moments this franchise has given us in years. The Toronto Raptors are going to the playoffs for the first time since 2022 as a 5 seed without having to survive the play-in tournament. And if you have been riding with this team through the dark years, through the tanking, through the losing, through the nights where you wondered if this rebuild was ever actually going to lead somewhere, then I need you to understand what this moment actually means. This is not just a regular season milestone. This is the first real proof that everything this organization has been building toward is actually working. And if you are not subscribed to this channel yet, do it right now, because we have been covering this Raptors rebuild from day one, and we are not stopping now. The playoffs start soon, and you need to be here for every single second of it. Let's get into it. So let me set the scene for you. Sunday afternoon, Scotiabank Arena. The Toronto Raptors hosting the already eliminated Brooklyn Nets in the final game of the regular season. And the stakes could not have been higher for a Raptors team that desperately needed this win. Not just to make the playoffs, but to make the playoffs as a top 6 seed and completely avoid the play-in tournament. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. It's the Nets. It should have been easy. And yeah, on paper, the matchup was about as favorable as it gets. Apparently, the pregame point spread was the largest in NBA history in the Raptors' favor. That is what was being whispered around the media room before tip-off. So the expectation was a comfortable win, but expectations and reality in the NBA do not always line up. And after what we saw against the Knicks, there was absolutely a part of this fan base holding its breath walking into Sunday. We did not need drama. We needed a win. Clean, decisive, and statement-making, and that is exactly what we got. Let's talk about the game itself, because it deserves its flowers. Scottie Barnes came out with an absolute purpose. This man looked at everything that was on the line, the seeding, the momentum, the message it would send heading into the postseason, and he decided that he personally was not going to let this team anywhere near the play-in tournament. 18 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, a triple-double in a must-win regular season finale. That is the kind of performance that reminds you exactly why this guy is the engine of everything the Raptors are trying to build. He was not just putting up numbers, he was controlling the game. He was making the right play every single possession. He was leading in the way that a true franchise cornerstone leads, by example, by effort, and by making everyone around him better. And honestly, if you needed any more evidence that Scottie Barnes has taken a massive leap this season in terms of his leadership and his overall impact, Sunday afternoon gave it to you in the most emphatic way possible. But Barnes was not the only one showing out. Brandon Ingram had 26 points, looking sharp and confident in a performance that should give Raptors fans a lot of encouragement heading into the Cleveland series. Because Ingram at his best is a matchup nightmare. His ability to create his own shot, to get to the free throw line, to score from multiple levels. That skill set is going to be genuinely important against the Cavaliers defense that is going to try to take away everything easy. And then there is RJ Barrett, who led all scorers with 25 points and looked like a man on a mission to prove that he belongs in the postseason conversation. Barrett has had his ups and downs this season, that is just the honest truth, but when he is engaged and locked in and playing with the kind of aggressive confidence he showed on Sunday, he is a real problem for opposing defenses. The Raptors are going to need that version of RJ Barrett consistently in the playoffs. The final score was 136-101, a 35-point dismantling of the Brooklyn Nets that was as dominant as it sounds, and just like that, the Toronto Raptors clinched the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference and punched their ticket to the postseason for the first time since 2022. Let that sink in for a moment. 4 years, this franchise has been waiting 4 years to be back in this position. And the way they got here by winning 16 more games this season than they did last season, by doing it with a young core that is still very clearly developing, by doing it in a way that felt real and earned rather than lucky or fluky, makes it that much more meaningful. Now, I want to take a moment to appreciate just how historic this moment is for several of the players on this roster, because I think it adds a layer of emotional depth to this story that deserves recognition. Think about the guys on this team and what the playoffs means for them personally. Scottie Barnes has been to a Raptors playoff game once as a rookie years ago. Jakob Poeltl has some playoff experience from his first stint with this organization. But for the rest of this roster, this is new. This is uncharted territory. For Brandon Ingram, this is his first postseason in a Raptors uniform. For RJ Barrett, same story. for the young pieces, for the guys who bought into this rebuild during the hard times, for the players who showed up every night and competed even when the wins were not coming, this is their first taste of the playoffs as a Raptor. And for many of them, it is their first taste of the playoffs ever. The magnitude of that cannot be overstated because the playoffs are a completely different environment. The intensity, the pressure, the stakes of every single possession, none of it compares to the regular season. And this group is about to experience all of that for the very first time together. And then there is Darko Rajakovic, first year, this stretch of postseason eligibility as head coach of the Toronto Raptors, and he is going to the playoffs. The growth that this coaching staff has facilitated over the course of this season has been one of the genuinely underrated storylines of what has been a remarkable year. Darko has been consistent, composed, and clear in his messaging. He has managed a roster with significant depth, significant youth, and significant pressure, and he has done it in a way that has maintained the trust and confidence of his players. And what he said after clinching said everything you need to know about how this coaching staff is approaching the moment. He talked about hoping to play meaningful games at the end of the season when the year started, and now the playoffs are the next step, the next classroom. The next opportunity for this group to learn what it takes to compete at the highest level. That is exactly the right framing. Not overconfident, not underselling it. Just honest, clear, and forward-looking. And Brandon Ingram echoed that perfectly when he said the goal now is to figure out how to win the first round. Not to celebrate the fact that they made it. Not to pat themselves on the back for a job well done. To figure out how to win. That competitive mentality, that refusal to be satisfied with just getting here. That is what separates teams that make the playoffs from teams that do damage in the playoffs. Now let's talk about the opponent, the Cleveland Cavaliers, because this matchup is genuinely fascinating, and I think it gives the Raptors more than people are currently giving them credit for. Yes, Cleveland is a tough team. Yes, they have had an excellent season. But here is the thing that matters. The Raptors swept their season series against the Cavaliers. Swept them. Now, I know those games were played in the fall during that 9-game winning streak that felt almost surreal at the time. The Cavaliers are a different team now than they were then. Their roster has evolved, their rotations have settled, and they have had time to iron out the things that were not working earlier in the year. So I am not sitting here telling you the sweep automatically translates into playoff success. It does not work that way, but it does tell you something. It tells you that this Raptors team has the personnel and the game plan to compete with Cleveland. It tells you that the matchups are not impossible. It tells you that on the right night, with the right energy and the right execution, the Raptors can take games off this Cavaliers team. And in a playoff series, that is all you need to make things interesting. The week off before the series begins is also something I want to highlight. Brandon Ingram said it simply and perfectly, rest is always good, and he is absolutely right. This Raptors team has been dealing with some injuries down the stretch of the season, and getting a full week to rest, recover, and prepare for Cleveland without having to survive the physical and emotional gauntlet of the play-in tournament is genuinely significant. They get to watch, they get to scout, they get to game plan with a full roster at as close to full health as possible. That is an advantage. And in a first-round series where every game is going to be physical and every possession is going to matter, being healthy and rested is not a small thing. Here's what I want every Raptors fan to hold on to as we head into this postseason. Darko Rajakovic said it himself. This team is not a finished product. And that is both a caution and a promise. A caution because we should not expect perfection. We should not expect this young group to suddenly transform into a battle-tested championship machine overnight. The playoffs are going to be a learning experience. There are going to be moments that are uncomfortable, moments where the youth and inexperience shows, moments where the Cavaliers' physicality and experience creates problems that the Raptors have to fight through. That is real, that is coming, and we need to be prepared for it as fans rather than panicking the first time things get hard in a playoff atmosphere. But it is also a promise because a team that is not a finished product still has room to grow, still has levels to reach, still has potential that has not been fully unlocked yet. And the playoffs, as intense and unforgiving as they are also the greatest accelerator of player development in professional basketball. The things this young core learns in this postseason run about themselves, about competing under pressure, about what it takes to win at the highest level, those lessons are going to shape this franchise for years. Every game they play, every situation they navigate, every adjustment they make, and every mistake they learn from is an investment in what this team is going to become. The Toronto Raptors are back, 16 more wins than last season, 5th seed in the East, first round matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers, a young core that is hungry, healthy, and ready to show the NBA what they are capable of. This is the beginning of something, people, and I cannot wait to cover every single moment of it right here on this channel. So make sure you are subscribed, make sure notifications are on, and drop in the comments right now. How far do you think the Raptors go in these playoffs? First round exit, second round surprise, or something even wilder? Let me know. Let's talk about it. We are locked in, and we are ready.